So hello everyone, happy October. I'm a few days late with getting this out, mainly because suddenly it's October and I'm not actually sure where September went. So here we are. Um, so I was tuning in earlier today about what was coming through for October, and I feel like, maybe I feel a little bit like a broken record because I feel like we're still going through this process of change and there's still things unfolding. So the nice thing about this though is that like this energy is becoming a little bit more familiar. I think the shifting of the tectonic plates, as I was speaking about, was happening more so in August, but we're still seeing that play out. But you might actually have some more answers or some more clarity as to what is shifting or where you are shifting to, rather than just feeling ungrounded and unstable. So I hope that is the case. And even if you haven't landed somewhere yet, hopefully there is some clarity coming for you. You know what next step to take, or things are beginning to settle. So I feel like that is coming in. But we also have to look at the fact that we are in a world right now where literally everything is changing. There really isn't a moment of stability. I feel like that is not something we're really going to see in at least the near future, and I'm saying even potentially several years. So we kind of are still adjusting to this new energy and new frequency of, being uncertain, of life changing way faster than it ever did before. And it's uncomfortable, but it's like we need to be able to do that inner work that's going to ground us, right? We need to become more comfortable with discomfort and uncertainty. So hopefully things are landing. Hopefully you're finding your roots, but I feel like, this shifting and this instability is going to continue for some time. I don't feel like things are just going to kind of settle and go back to life as it typically was. So just keep that part in mind. So I was saying less density, I feel. Things are hopefully getting lighter, feeling lighter. I know a lot of people had gone through a lot of shadow, especially late spring through the summer especially. And I know I spoke a little bit about what I was going through myself. And I feel like things have lifted for me, but I'm still sort of seeing those pieces and digging them out, but I feel like it's not such an intense emotional trigger. I'm able to go back to that place of sharing and observing and letting things unravel. But I feel like there's more space. I have more space for myself and more space for others as well. Whereas I had sort of put a lot of my work on hold actually over some of the summer months. So know that things are lifting, but you may also get like pushes to do things differently, to address things in a different way, set new boundaries, see somebody, whether that be a therapist or a healer or some kind of modality that maybe you hadn't in the past, that maybe can help you take some steps. And even if you're feeling better and more stable, sometimes there is someone that can guide you to continue that process or to complete certain cycles in your life even. So reaching out for help might be a thing. Again, doing things differently, choosing a new path, embracing new practices that, maybe even you've never thought of or even heard of before. So let that be something that you begin to integrate and just pay attention to maybe things that land in your proximity or your sphere. Maybe someone mentioned something, or they're seeing somebody, or there's this modality that you had never heard of before, but it kind of piques your interest. Just pay attention to what's landing in your circle. Sorry, I made notes, so I'm just taking a look here. Yeah, so shadows, different perspective. Hopefully that makes sense. And so if we look at like the bigger picture, like this season, so this is autumn or fall. So there is a time of letting go. So I will say, clearing, continuing to clear out and excavate some of those shadows, continue to let things drop away that aren't serving you. I actually, a few months ago, I started a membership program that was never really quite feeling like it was really aligned for me. And it was something that, I had a few people in, but it never fully, felt like it got off the ground as far as what I would like it to be. And I already made the decision this past month. I'm like, I have to close this down. I'm just making content for people that I can't see or connect with in that moment. Was really feeling like it was pulling teeth, like it didn't feel good for me. I felt like I would rather work with people one-on-one or live online rather than just recording things and sending it out, which may or may not actually get utilized. So I've become a lot more clear as to like what I want to keep and what needs to go, even if it's something that looks good on paper, right? So as we let go, usually we are in this state of grief as things leave. Sometimes we're very attached to those things. We don't want them to leave. And this could be jobs, this could be relationships, this could be home, it could be a number of things. But what I want you to take a look at is what's left. So as things drop away, what is left? So what is that residual feeling? What are you left with? And maybe it is grief, but maybe it's peace. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's relief. Maybe it's groundedness. And it still could be a little bit heavy, but usually when things leave, even if we can't see it in that moment, these things are happening for us. So look at what is left. Look at what is coming in its place. Look at, even something that may be coming in its place, that could be clarity, right? Okay, this didn't work out, but that helps me refine my path forward, right? Or this relationship left, and this helps me get clearer on what I'm really looking for, right? So looking at it in a slightly more positive light, potentially, that's not always easy, rather than what you are letting go of and what you want to hold on to. Because usually that creates a lot more friction, a lot more challenge, rather than being in love and acceptance of what needs to leave your life. And sometimes what's left is, it's a lesson, right? It's a lesson, it's a learning. In some ways it's a transformation, but it helps us get to know who we really are and what path we're really on. So we're always shifting, we're always refining, right? And that's growth. So the other aspect that I mentioned or wrote down was, as we let go, as we shift, as we acknowledge what's left, we are also changing. So as we change in energy, in frequency, as our path changes, as we get redirected, usually the people in our lives do as well. So even if you haven't had shifts within your relationships, know that that is something that as you change and grow and transform, people will be leaving potentially, but new people will come in. So people that are going to be more aligned with your path, people that are going to support your path, people that have a greater understanding of who you are and where you're going. So a lot of people that I know, and myself included, being more focused on growth, both like emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I should say myself, I don't like to put too many words in other people's mouths, but I find that there is a lot of change within relationships. There aren't always a lot of people that stay in my life for a really long period of time. And I find that as I grow, as I end a chapter and begin a new one, there seems to be like, it's almost like a play where it's like there's a changing of a scene, or, you know, a new costume is put on. There's different characters, right, that come in during each time in my life. So, and I mean, if you are someone who doesn't like change, this can be a very challenging thing to move through. But trust the process and trust that it is actually a reflection of your growth, right? And sometimes when we are holding on to, things as they always were, and we expect them to stay the same all the time, that doesn't allow us much growth, because we're around the same people, the same mindset, the same perspectives, and we're not really challenged a lot within that. So if you are making changes, if you are starting to see things differently, if you are working on yourself in a different way, you may notice that you're stepping outside of this familiarity, and you might see things from a very different perspective. And it might happen quite suddenly, where you're like, oh, I'm just not a part of this anymore. This doesn't fit with me. This doesn't resonate with me. And that's okay. It's really, truly okay to accept that, to move on. Doesn't mean that you don't love those people, you don't care for those people, but you can't pull everyone along with you, right? Sometimes we have to really go on our own journey, right? So just be prepared, be in acceptance. But again, when people change, when jobs change, when relationships change, a lot of times that is, if we're not doing it purposely out of like a reaction or a trigger or trauma, usually it is a reflection of our own growth. So just keep that in mind. Okay. And the last thing I wanted to mention was playfulness. So we're maybe moving through this heavier, denser period. Again, we had 6 planets that were retrograde. We just had Mercury station direct, and eventually things are going to get moving again and lightening again. That doesn't mean we're not going to see chaos in the world. And things are heavy. If you look this way, you're going to see one thing. If you look that way, there's another disaster, and this is happening, and that's happening, and it's extremely chaotic. So don't feel guilty if you sometimes need to put the blinders on and say, what do I need in this moment? To kind of close down the overwhelm that's happening in the world around you and focusing inwards. So it might be finding quiet, finding peace, but it also might be finding joy, being playful, remembering what happiness, what joy, what movement feels like. I had this image in my mind when I was writing a few notes down about like doing cartwheels and playing in the leaves and being a little bit more childlike. And we really need that energy right now, like especially as the days get shorter and it gets colder. For me, that just makes me want to hibernate. So it's really important for me to like stay moving and get outside even though it's getting colder, and really enjoy those moments and those friendships and the time that we do have, right? Because we're constantly reminded of how short and precious life is. So make sure you're doing things that fill your cup. And I'm not saying that like from a shallow perspective. I've had conversations lately that are like, we have this, a lot of us have this need to move and grow spiritually. And that is something that feeds us. Absolutely. When we're connecting to our deeper selves, our soul selves, we become different people. We gain lessons, or we move through lessons. We have understanding. We have more compassion. There's all sorts of pieces that come along with that. However, we are souls or spirit having a human experience as well. So don't forget about your human side that needs friendship, that needs connections, that needs laughter, that needs hugs, that needs, silly times, that needs all sorts of different things. And sometimes that's, having a brownie, having those things. It's like, oh, well, that's bad for us. But sometimes it is good when it feeds another part of you, as long as it's not all the time, right? So think about what is cup filling that really comes from a deeper intuitive place, rather than just like, this is what I should do. I should be going to the gym. I should be eating this way. I should be speaking to myself this way. I should do this. And this should fill my cup up. Kind of throw that out the window. And if you really listened, even if it doesn't make any sense, sometimes it's like, I want to go to the park. I want to go on the swings. I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm going to play hooky at work. I'm going to, sit in the sunshine, even though it's cool out. I'm going to wrap myself in a shawl and a sweater, and I'm just going to be in the moment, right? And sometimes it's those things that really feed us and nourish us. So again, try and get rid of some of those rules that say it needs to look this way, because truly it looks different for everyone. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull a few cards. Different ones. I felt called to say a few different things. So this is more about who we need to be this month. I feel like there's going to be more transformation on a personal level, especially as we're coming through sort of this shadow period. What part of ourselves do we really need to embrace here? So the pilgrim. Anyone traveling? But even this doesn't really need to be about traveling somewhere else. This can be about traveling inwards. This can be a pilgrimage to, have a deeper understanding of who we really are. This can be, finding the sacred in kind of mundane moments, right? Like these pilgrimages were about spirituality. It was about a journey to a sacred site. It was, something that was very revered and was often a challenge, especially way back when. So, what can you see with new eyes? What can you see in a new light? How can you be the pilgrim or take that pilgrimage into your own heart and into your own soul? And maybe go a little bit deeper than what you had before. Or maybe this has another meaning for you. Maybe there's something that comes to mind. Maybe this speaks to you in a different way. Where are you going? What journey are you taking? And that can be inwards or outwards. All right. What's next? So we have the pilgrim. What else is it that we need to know for this month of October? This is a little bit lighter. I usually pull from the tarot as well as some of my sacred tree cards. So these are a little bit lighter. So hopefully you can see this one. The 7 Star Sisters. So this is birthing creations, tapestry of life and expression. So we have the pilgrim. So it's like a new journey, a new beginning. And I feel like these are more or less like the people that are coming into our lives, that playfulness that is coming, the soul brothers, the soul sisters, the ones that are going to help us create something new in our lives, that are going to support us in this new leg of our journey, right? And there's something very cosmic about this. There's something very etheric. There's something different. Like I feel like, and I had this image actually myself. I'm going out west for 10 days, and I had this image of being in the center of sequoia trees and like new people kind of coming out from in between the trees, and they're like, it's new community, it's new people, it's new connections that I haven't been with before, but there are people who we will be supporting each other in a very new journey. And I feel probably like the people coming in now, there will likely be like a remembrance, right? Like, I've known you before. I understand who you are. Like there's almost like an immediate familiarity. And also these people may challenge you a lot more than, the friendships, the connections that you've had in the past. So be aware of that as well. People may come in to continue to amplify that growth. All right. So one last card. This is our spirit animal. What is this energy for us? Oh, the unicorn. What a crazy card. Okay, so I feel like this is just like, new journey, be the pilgrim, new soul family coming in. And then it's like, kind of like, let your freak flag fly, like be more of who you really are. We've moved through these lessons, this shadow. We've gone back over a lot of like past traumas, and like, can we just embrace that we all have a story? Can we embrace that, there's always a part of ourselves that wants to come through and come to the surface, right? There's always that part that just wants to be seen in all of our, weirdness and still be accepted, right? So be the unicorn, be weird, find your people, find your tribe. Sometimes the more we live our truth, as weird as that looks, we bring in the people. We become really truly who we are. We're not meant to all be the same in this society, right? So really embrace whatever is coming to the surface. And if you've moved through a lot of the shadow, you may actually have, more of your personality coming out, more of that joy, more of that inner child playfulness. So really embrace that. All right. So thank you very much. If you have tuned in, feel free to comment below if you have any questions or comments for me. Again, I'm going to be away for a good 10 days this month. So I'm looking at the end of October for getting back into Reiki training, level 1 and level 2. And I want to bring that through in a different way, just because I feel like, the quick weekend trainings, like here you go, send you on your way, isn't cutting it. And I really want to provide like a greater depth and understanding of the energy. So when you move through that process, you really feel like you understand and can really, begin to heal yourself and have a greater understanding of, what other people are going through as well. So keep in touch. I'll let you know what's happening. I'll hopefully share a little bit of my journey as well. And be well this month. I feel like we're going to at least have a little bit of lightness.